Call 844-631-2020 or visit lowvisionmd.org.
Tonight, the questions revealed, what Robert Mueller reportedly wants to ask the president, and what those questions now reveal themselves. Mueller looking into both obstruction of justice and possible collusion. The president lashing out at what the White House said late today. Also tonight, the doctor who once said President Trump's health is astonishingly excellent. Was his office raided? Were the president's medical records confiscated? And the White House now responding tonight. Also developing the severe storm threat at this hour, possible tornadoes, dangerous winds, large hail. The tornado watch across several states as we come on the air. The horrific pictures, the 24-story building going up in flames and then suddenly collapsing. Tonight, the search underway. The hospital showdown, the nurse whose own mother was being treated, arguing with hospital staff, hit by a stun gun by police after refusing to leave the ER. New gas prices out tonight on the rise, now the summer forecast, and the best day of the week to get the cheapest gas. And the new report tonight on mosquitoes and ticks and what they carry just as summer arrives.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a very busy Tuesday night. And we begin with those questions Robert Mueller reportedly wants to ask President Trump. The New York Times first reporting some 4 dozen questions that they say were read to the president's legal team. Questions about the firing of Michael Flynn, James Comey, the Trump Tower meeting, and what seems to be a direct question about possible collusion, asking if the president knew about outreach to Russia for potential help by members of his own campaign. The president tonight calling the leak of these questions disgraceful, but who gave those questions out? Tonight we go down the list, the questions most telling and what they mean. ABC's Mary Bruce leading us off.
It's a list of nearly 50 probing questions special counsel Robert Mueller has for President Trump. Lines of questioning Mueller shared with Trump's own legal team. The list now published by the New York Times and what the president is now calling a disgraceful leak.
Russian collusion. Give me a break.
Trump insists Mueller's list has no questions on collusion, but that's not true. The special counsel has questions about Paul Manafort, once the president's campaign chairman. According to the Times, Mueller wants to ask Trump what knowledge did he have of any outreach by his campaign, including by Paul Manafort, to Russia about potential assistance to the campaign. Mueller also wants to ask the president, when did you become aware of the Trump Tower meeting? That infamous sit-down, Don Jr., Jared Kushner, Manafort, and Russians they were told had dirt on Hillary Clinton.
He said there is no question on collusion, but when you look at these specific questions about outreach by the campaign to Russia, aren't these questions about collusion?
Once again, I'm not going to get into a back and forth about questions leaked or anything having to do with the special counsel, and I would refer you to the president's attorney.
Much of Mueller's list centers on possible obstruction of justice by the president. The special counsel wants to know what efforts were made to reach out to Trump's fired National Security Advisor Michael Flynn about seeking immunity or possible pardon. And what did Trump mean when he said this about firing his FBI director James Comey?
When I decided to just do it, I said to myself, I said, you know, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story.
And when Trump told Russian diplomats in this Oval Office meeting that firing Comey had taken the pressure off, what did he mean by that? Another question Mueller wants answered, what discussions did the president have regarding terminating the special counsel?
Mary Bruce joins us tonight live from the White House. And Mary, there's also news tonight about former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. He's already, of course, taken a plea deal with Robert Mueller. He's cooperating in the investigation. But you're learning tonight his sentencing could be delayed. What's the bottom line? What does this mean?
David, Mueller's team and Flynn's lawyers are asking for another 60 days before sentencing Flynn for lying to the FBI. It's a clear sign that Flynn is still cooperating with the special counsel and that they don't want any sentencing to get in the way of that. David.
Mary Bruce leading us off from the White House. Mary, thank you. I want to bring in ABC's chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams. Dan, always great to have you here with us. A lot of people at home, I think, are going to ask, if Robert Mueller wants to ask the president these questions, why would he reveal the questions in the first place? But you're saying prosecutors often do this.
Yeah, it's not unusual. The goal is not to stump him. This is what happens when you're negotiating whether to have someone sit down. And keep in mind, they could ask follow-up questions. There are additional questions that could be asked. This doesn't mean that it's everything.
This would be an outline. per se.
Right.
In the meantime, the president says the leak of these questions is, quote, disgraceful. But we know that Mueller's team gave the questions to President Trump's legal team. So how do we know where the questions came from?
Well, there's every indication that this came from the Trump team and not from the Mueller team. You look at the New York Times reporting itself. It says that they read the questions to Trump's team and that it was given by someone outside of Trump's lawyers, which suggests and sort of clearly indicates that it came from someone in Trump's camp, not from Mueller.
And bottom line tonight, Dan, does the president really have to do this interview with Robert Mueller at all?
He does not. He's under no obligation to do it. If he doesn't, it's possible that Robert Mueller could try and subpoena him to testify in front of a grand jury, but I don't expect that would happen.
All right, Dan Abrams with us tonight as well. Dan and Mary, thank you. We do have one more note tonight. We rarely hear from Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, who's overseeing Robert Mueller's investigation, but tonight he's now speaking out after members of the House Freedom Caucus, Republicans, drafting a plan to impeach Rosenstein. Tonight, the deputy AG saying the threat will not work.
The Department of Justice is not going to be extorted. We're going to do what's required by the rule of law, and any kind of threats that anybody makes are not going to affect the way we do our job. We have a responsibility.
Rod Rosenstein just today. Next to the bizarre headline today, President Trump's former doctor now making headlines tonight, claiming that his office was raided shortly after the inauguration and the president's medical records were taken away. It comes just days after the White House doctor, Ronnie Jackson, withdrew as the president's pick to be Veterans Affairs chief. Here's ABC's chief national affairs correspondent Tom Llamas tonight.
Tonight, the White House responding to a startling allegation, saying it's not uncommon the president's medical records would be transferred after a candidate becomes president. That explanation comes after a new report and interview with Donald Trump's doctor when he was a candidate, claiming his office was raided after President Trump took office.
I feel raped, frightened, and sad.
He was the physician who claimed during the campaign Trump's health was, quote, astonishingly excellent, declaring he will be the healthiest individual ever elected to the presidency. Harold Bornstein is claiming that 1 month after President Trump took office, the president's longtime personal bodyguard, who was chief of Oval Office operations at the time, a lawyer at the Trump Organization, along with a third man, came into his office. The reason, Bornstein claims to NBC, was what he told the New York Times 2 days before the so-called raid. Bornstein revealing to the Times Trump took a drug to promote hair growth, the drug Propecia. Tonight, the White House is not denying records were obtained from Dr. Bornstein's office, but they are adamant it was not a raid.
That it would be a standard procedure for the president and newly elected president's medical records to be in possession by the White House Medical Unit, and that was what was taking place as those records were being transferred over to the White House Medical Unit as requested.
This is now the second doctor connected to the president who's making headlines. The president's White House doctor, Ronnie Jackson, who once said this,
he might live to be 200 years old. I don't know. He has incredible genes.
Was picked by the president to run the VA, but under heavy scrutiny, he withdrew amid reports of heavy drinking on the job and giving out prescription sleep aids. And now he will no longer be the president's personal physician, but he's still in the White House Medical Unit.
So let's get to Tom Llamas with us live tonight outside the office of President Trump's former physician, Dr. Bornstein, who claims his office was raided. We heard the White House there late today adamant that this was not a raid. And Tom, you reached Dr. Bornstein by phone?
That's right, and he quickly tried to rush me off the telephone, saying he could not comment, that he no longer wanted to talk about this issue. But we noticed one thing, David, outside of his office. You see that white smudge there on the window? That's a bumper sticker from the inside of the office. It says Trump 2016. It has since been ripped off. David?
Tom Llamas with us tonight as well. Tom, our thanks to you. We're going to move on tonight to the severe weather, a tornado watch in 3 states as we're on the air tonight, and it comes after a blinding dust storm. This is from I-80 in Nebraska. Nearly 20 vehicles involved in an accident. Golf ball-sized hail bouncing off the pavement in Broken Bow, Nebraska. The severe threat even wider tomorrow as summer-like temperatures finally arrive across much of the east. So let's get to senior meteorologist Rob Marciano tracking it all for us again tonight. Hey, Rob.
Hey, David. It's been quiet so far for tornadoes, but here we are, May 1st, already confirmed tornadoes on the ground. And right now we have tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings all within this tornado watch box that's in effect till 10 o'clock tonight from Dodge City up through Lincoln, Nebraska. And these storms will probably continue after midnight and through parts of Iowa and through Wisconsin as well. A lumbering system. So tomorrow we kind of reset some of the same areas. We'll see the same systems, damaging winds, large hail, strong tornadoes, maybe getting down through Dallas and stretching to Chicago by the time Thursday comes around. You mentioned the heat, 20 degrees above normal, near 80 degrees tomorrow in Detroit, 84 in New York, nearing 90 degrees in D.C. So we go from way cooler than normal to way above normal temperature-wise here in May.
A lot of folks have been waiting a long time, though, for this, Rob. True. Thanks to you. We turn overseas tonight and to dramatic pictures, just horrific scenes. The fiery collapse of a high-rise tower in Brazil, the stunning images of the raging fire, then the 24-story building suddenly falling to the ground. The high-rise was officially empty, but dozens of families had already made it their home. Tonight, at least one person is dead, several are missing, and here's ABC's Victor Oquendo.
It's the middle of the night when the fire erupts on the first floor, quickly consuming the entire high-rise. Thick black smoke spews out, then this horrifying image. The building comes crashing down. The dramatic collapse captured by bystanders as fiery debris and smoke engulfed surrounding streets. Officials say at least 50 families were living inside the 24-story building in Sao Paulo, Brazil's largest city. The former federal police headquarters had been abandoned and occupied by squatters. This man says he went knocking door to door, shouting fire. At least one man confirmed dead. The fire department says he was clinging to a rope, talking to firefighters, but the building collapsed before they could save him. Tonight, a mother and her twin children are missing, and there could be more. The building still smoldering today. Rescuers seen going through the rubble in a desperate search for survivors.
Officials are still looking for a cause. Rescuers say they won't use heavy equipment for at least 3 days with the hope of finding survivors. David?
Victor Oquendo tonight. Victor, thank you. We turn next to the confrontation in a hospital emergency room captured on a cell phone. We warn you the video is difficult to watch. A nurse right there in blue tased by police after refusing to leave the ER where his own mother was being treated. And tonight that nurse is now facing charges. Here's ABC's Steve Osunsami.
Because of privacy issues, Erlanger Hospital tonight in Chattanooga says it won't explain what led to this fight in their emergency room or say why they were asking one of their own nurses to leave. The nurse here in the blue scrubs from the incident last Thursday is 42-year-old Roger Davis. He's seen in this cell phone video refusing the officer's commands, and they keep threatening to shoot him with a stun gun. Police report explains that the nurse's mother was visiting the emergency room, and as staff was trying to care for her, Roger Davis was continuing to give them issues. At one point, he was asked by medical staff and the VP of Erlanger to leave. He's charged tonight with assault, resisting arrest, and disorderly conduct. He has not yet entered a plea. A witness in the emergency room saw it differently.
The cop is supposed to defuse it, and instead, she was the aggressor.
Police are reviewing the incident, and a state nursing association says that while there are no laws that they know of that bar a nurse from staying with a loved one in an ER, each facility may have its own rules. David?
All right, Steve Osunsami with us tonight. Thank you, Steve. We have new developments in that standoff at the U.S. border with Mexico. Dozens of men, women, and children from Central America, many escaping violence. There is word tonight that some are now being processed by U.S. customs agents, but more than 100 are still waiting. So what comes next? ABC's chief national correspondent Matt Gutman on the Mexico side of the border tonight.
Tonight, those migrants camped out on the Mexican border celebrating. 14 of them entering the U.S. to officially begin to petition for asylum. After the 2,000-mile, month-long trek from southern Mexico, they now face an asylum process that could take years, with long odds to gain citizenship. Customs and Border Patrol claiming 11 migrants have been arrested for attempting to enter the United States illegally. Some seen here scaling the fence on the San Diego border, while others waited patiently, setting up camp on the cold concrete.
These are the 150 others who are still waiting their turn. They are told it could be days until they're allowed in and get their applications reviewed.
Mari Martinez was kidnapped in her own home, held hostage by a gang. She says it's not easy to live in a country where you're always afraid. Tonight, they're hopeful that they won't have to fear any longer. Matt Gutman, ABC News, Tijuana.
Matt, thank you. Meantime, tonight, California and 16 other states are now suing the EPA after that agency's plan to weaken rules for vehicle emissions. California filing the lawsuit, now joined by 16 other states and the District of Columbia. They say they are fighting for cleaner and more efficient cars. The standards would have required vehicles to get 36 miles per gallon by 2025, about 10 miles over the existing standards. EPA Chief Scott Pruitt says that plan needs to be revised. There is still much